What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, former three-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently WBO welterweight world champion, widely considered the number one pound-for-pound boxer in the world, Terence Bud Crawford, has a stern message for the upper echelon in the welterweight division, mainly 8 division world champion, superstar legendary Filipino boxer who is currently the WBA welterweight world champion, Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, and undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Errol Spence Jr. His promoter, top ranked CEO, legendary promoter in his own right, Bob Arum of Top Rank, has came out and said that he put a list out of boxers that Terence Crawford could possibly face if the Manny Pacquiao fight falls through, right? They're negotiating the fight to stage Manny Pacquiao versus Terence Crawford, and it will take place outside of the United States due to the pandemic and restrictions in the states. So they're looking for a group outside the United States to be able to financially back such a big fight, right? There's a lot of interest, according to Bob Arum. But with that said, Bob Arum says he puts out a list of fighters just in case this fight doesn't come to fruition. And on this list of fighters, Bob Arum names 4 guys that they're looking to replace Manny Pacquiao with if they can't get the fight done with Manny Pacquiao for Terence Crawford. Number 1 on the list is Keith one-time Thurman. That is a shocker, right? Because we all expected to see. Keith Thurman said that he wasn't in a position to fight Terence Crawford. He would need the proper comeback and tune-up fights because he had surgery after the Manny Pacquiao fight. And if he was going to fight Terence Crawford, then he need to be at 100% because it's not fair to him or Terence Crawford. So Keith Thurman was a former unified welterweight world champion. He held the WBA and the WBC titles, in which the WBC title he had to relinquish due to inactivity, which saw 2-time welterweight world champion Showtime Sean Porter face off against 2-division world champion and former WBC welterweight world champion Danny Swift Garcia. Sean Porter came out victorious, and he held the WBC title, in which Keith Thurman went on to defend the WBA title against Manny Pacquiao, which saw Manny Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman. Hence, that's why Manny Pacquiao is the WBA champion. We know then Sean Porter then went on to face Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence defeated Kell Brook in the UK and captured the IBF title that Sean Porter had lost to, that Kell Brook took from Sean Porter, right? So you see how this is circling amongst each other, right? And then Errol Spence ended up taking the WBC title from Sean Porter to become the unified welterweight world champion. Then next on the list at number 2, he has Sean Porter, right? Now we know Sean Porter said it didn't make sense right now currently to make the fight. Originally, his father, trainer, and manager, Kenny Porter, was saying that that's the fight that they want if they couldn't get the Errol Spence rematch. And there was a lot of talks of Sean Porter and Terence Crawford. The boxing world was clamoring for it. Terence Crawford then said that they have a friendship and they won't be forced. He won't be forced into a fight with Sean Porter. They will have to sit down and mutually agree that this is the direction that they want to go in. And as of late, Sean Porter came out and said, with everything taking place and not being able to have fans and pack a stadium and do pay-per-view, it just don't make sense to make a fight between myself and Terence Crawford. Bob Arum, promoter of Terence Crawford, uttered the same sentiments when he came out, and he stated that, it just don't, the investors and the interest is just not there for big investment groups to want to put money on the table for Sean Porter versus Terence Crawford. So I guess that they're having a change of heart. And that's the fight that everybody wanted to see if we couldn't get Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, number 1. And if we couldn't get Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao, number 2, everybody's clamoring for Sean Porter. So oddly enough, Bob Arum has Sean Porter at number 2 on this list. At number 3, he has Yordenis Ugas. This is another fight the fans have been clamoring for. So it seems like Bob Arum and Terence Crawford are going in a direction. They have their ear to the streets, and they understand what the fans are clamoring for, and they're going in the proper order, it seems, to get Terence Crawford the proper fights that he needs, right? And then Yordenis Ugas, he was in a fight with Sean Porter, and a lot of people feel like they're torn. A lot of people felt like Sean Porter won the fight. A lot of people feel like Yordenis Ugas won the fight. Yordenis Ugas is a Cuban boxer. He has a Cuban style. You know, he has technical abilities. He's very big for the welterweight division. He's a great opponent for Terence Crawford. And that rounding at number 4, we have Special K, Kell Brook at number 4. We already know Kell Brook's backstory. But Terence Crawford had a message for Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao, as he states, it doesn't matter. Now or later, you guys gonna have to see me. You can't avoid me forever. That's what Terence Crawford ended this by saying. He says, they can't avoid me forever. Now or later, these fights are gonna have to take place. So Terence Crawford is saying that he don't mind taking Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Yordenis Ugas, or Kell Brook, because he believes that sooner or later Manny Pacquiao or Errol Spence is going to have to face him. Now, one thing I have to say regarding that is I have to beg to differ. Manny Pacquiao does not have to face him because Manny Pacquiao is aging out. Manny Pacquiao is on the wrong side of 40. So let's say if Manny Pacquiao fights Mikey Garcia and then goes into a fight with Errol Spence and loses to Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao could easily retire at that point in time, right? Because he's already on the wrong side of 40. So that message it bodes for Errol Spence, right? It doesn't work for Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao could so choose. If he choose to fight Terence Crawford, that would be great. And if he don't, that's still it's no knock against Manny Pacquiao and his career. His legacy is already set. This message is more so has to be directed towards Errol Spence because Errol Spence is younger. He's 30 years old, and he has a lot more time, you know, in the fight game than Manny Pacquiao does. And we know that he can't be talking about Keith Thurman because Keith Thurman is no longer a champion, right? But Keith Thurman, oddly enough, like I stated, is the number 1 guy on this list for Bob Arum, right? I don't know how much interest that, Keith Thurman has in this fight. Like I said, Keith Thurman didn't seem too enthused to make a fight between himself and Terence Crawford anytime soon, right? Coming off of this surgery. He kept making mention of Manny Pacquiao. He wanted his get back, against Manny Pacquiao. He said he wasn't 100% healthy, and if he was 100% healthy in himself, he would have defeated Manny Pacquiao that night. So he wants to run it back. He wants to rectify that situation and regain his title and his status. Then he said that he wouldn't mind fighting Terence Crawford at that point in time. We know Errol Spence has no interest in dealing with Keith Thurman at all whatsoever. He said that Keith Thurman gave him the runaround his entire career. When he started to make a name for himself, he gave me ultimatums, become a champion. I did that. He still ran for me. So Errol Spence has no interest in fighting Keith Thurman. Yordenis Ugas is a great opponent, in my opinion. I think that's a fight that should be easy to make for Terence Crawford, and it's sellable to the fans, right? It's respectable. Sean Porter, like I said, Sean Porter recently came out and stated that it just didn't make sense. I think that Sean Porter is looking at the logistics and how things would go, how it's going to play out due to the fact that, there's no fans, there's a lot of restrictions. But if there's investment groups outside of the United States that are willing to pay big money for Sean Porter and Terence Crawford, I can't see Sean Porter turning that option down. So Keith Thurman, I don't see that happening. Sean Porter, I see if the investment groups are willing to pay the same similar types of money they were willing to pay for Manny Pacquiao, for Sean Porter would chomp at the bit, and it's another title opportunity for Sean Porter. When it comes to Kell Brook, Kell Brook at this point in time is a tricky situation because I don't believe that Kell Brook is interested in the sport of boxing. I think that Kell Brook at this point in time is interested what the sport of boxing could provide for him outside of the ring, and that's his lifestyle, right? Revenue. So I don't know. Kell Brook stated at one point in time that he could make 147-pound weight limit. Then he turned around. He said that he can't make the 147-pound limit. Then now again he's turned around saying he can, but his promoter, Matchroom CEO and promoter Eddie Hearn, is saying that Kell Brook needs at least 7 months to get in shape to make 147 pounds. So I don't know if you want to tamper with the situation with Kell Brook and run the risk of Kell Brook not being able to make weight and being pulled from the fight and things of that nature. If you're Terence Crawford, you don't have the time to play, being 32 years of age, going on 33 in September. You don't have time to waste. And then have a replacement opponent that we don't know, or that the people don't want to see to replace Kell Brook. I don't know if you want to run that risk, and I'm glad that Kell Brook is number 4 on this list. I think that they should mainly focus, if Manny Pacquiao decides to do a bow face and go in a different direction, I think that they should focus on Sean Porter with the backup option of Yordenis Ugas, because I think that Yordenis Ugas would chomp at the bit to have a title opportunity and a high-profile fight with a high-profile fighter like Terence Crawford. That just, that just makes all the sense in the world. So I think that if Manny Pacquiao decides to go the route of Mikey Garcia or somebody else, I think that they need to have a plan B and C. That plan B being, no disrespect to Sean Porter, being Sean Porter, we're offering him some of the similar numbers that you're willing to offer Manny Pacquiao. I don't think that Sean Porter is going to get the same exact offer Manny Pacquiao has, seen as though he's not a champion and he doesn't have the legendary history of Manny Pacquiao. So his worth is slightly under, as far as revenue and payout would be, under Manny Pacquiao, right? He's not the pay-per-view star. He's not the attraction, and he doesn't have the legendary legacy of Manny Pacquiao. So I know investment groups are not going to pay the exact same numbers they're willing to pay for Manny Pacquiao, but it shouldn't be too far off where Sean Porter's like, well, listen, you was offering him $10 million, now you offer me $1 million. That's a total different story, right? It should be respectable, in the ballpark of $4 or $5 million if he was going to give Manny Pacquiao 10, right? And then have the plan C being Yordenis Ugas, in which you offering him $1.5 million or something like that he can't turn down. And that makes all the sense in the world for Terence Crawford to get these big fights, because like I said, Father Time's undefeated and he'll be 33 in September. So these are the big fights that we were clamoring for Terence Crawford. He's widely considered the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, and people are ready for him to put up and show up and show out, right? We don't want to see the Igis Kavaluskis, the meme machine, anymore. We don't want to see the Jose Benavidez of the world, right? Mir Khan on the back end of his career. That would be in the same area as a Kell Brook fight. So we want to see Terence Crawford in the big fights. And I'm glad Terence Crawford is speaking out, saying that these guys can't avoid him forever. And like I said, you put Errol Spence in a back against the wall. If Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao fight is made, you put Errol Spence back against the wall, because he has to fight the winner of that fight. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Then on the flip side, if Manny Pacquiao goes the route of Mikey Garcia, and then fights Errol Spence, then I think Terence Crawford at that point in time is 2 fights away from garnering the Errol Spence fight. So I think that if he makes, it makes all the sense in the world. If Terence Crawford fights Sean Porter right now, you want to fight Sean Porter while you're younger, fresher, right? You fight Sean Porter right now, and then if Errol Spence chooses Mikey Garcia, if Manny Pacquiao chooses the route of Mikey Garcia, you fight Sean Porter. Errol Spence is fighting Danny Garcia. Then if Errol Spence fights Manny Pacquiao after that fight, because I'm highly expecting Manny Pacquiao to be victorious against Mikey Garcia, then Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao face off. Then we could get Yordenis Ugas and Terence Crawford at that point in time, right? So then you're looking at a fight between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. You're talking on the back end or mid 2021, and that's not too bad for Terence Crawford. At the end of the day, he's going to put them in a situation where they're definitely going to have to face off against one another. And like you said, now or later, they're going to have to see him. So I believe that. I'm of that same belief. So let's see how this all plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notification. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. It's your boy Blue. Peace.